again, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Movie Marquis Show. I'm your host, the guy whose name is in the title. And I'm coming to you from a brand new location this week. This is my dorm room at Old Dominion University. Yes, I am in college. How I got here, I have no idea. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up is just in case anyone cared. I probably won't be able to do the whole every other day thing because, you know, college is hectic. But I'm going to try my hardest in my first semester to put out one video every week for as long as I can keep it up. While we're on the topic of videos, I just did the Ice Bucket Challenge recently, and that video will be up shortly, I promise. But enough messing around. So, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I am extremely partial to old Hollywood. I love old movies much more so than new movies, and granted, a lot of new movies are good, but they seldom hold up to the classics of the 40s, 50s, and 60s and the golden age of making movies. So, the list today, we're going to look at the top 10 films released earlier and including the year 1940. And this right here is the golden era. I mean, this is Depression era, Roaring 20s, early, right before World War II films. And I promise you, you will enjoy this. You will enjoy all of these movies if you take my advice and watch all of them. And I highly recommend that you do. And just for the record, I realized that one of these films, after I made this list, was technically released in 1941, but I don't really care. It's often identified as pre-World War II filmmaking, so I'm going to say that that's going to slide through. You'll find out what film that is a little later on in the list. So, let's get down to business. Number 10. King Kong, 1933. There's really no movie quite like King Kong. I mean, this was true back in 1933 when it came out, and it still remains true today, because Kong is the king of practical effects. That is until the Jackson movie came out. Yeah, but back in the 30s, no one had seen a giant freaking gorilla on screen before. They thought it was plenty real and plenty scary, and as a result, the audiences were riveted throughout. Does it help? Does it hold up? Kinda. It's dated to be sure, but the story and movie are still classic. Not to mention, it inspired countless directors to make movies the first time they saw it, including Peter Jackson. Suck it, CGI. Robin Hood, 1938. Know the name Errol Flynn? Didn't think so. Not very many people do anymore. He probably would be in the Expendables when he retired if he was acting in this day and age.
I upset your plan?
He wasn't a terribly good actor, and his specialty was action scenes that looked like they were filmed in fast forward. That said, Robin Hood is still an extremely well put together film. Despite Flynn's token good guy contribution, there's still some legitimately enjoyable performances in the movie. I mean, Olivia de Havilland's Maid Marian is kind of a feisty ingenue. Claude Rains as Prince John is fantastic. But the Oscar goes to Basil Rathbone's Guy of Gisborne.
You've come to Nottingham once too often. When this is over, my friend, there'll be no need for me to come again.
The original Sherlock Holmes turns in one of the most over-the-top, hamming it up, maniacal, diabolical performances in the history of film. It is an absolute joy to watch.
Only prayers, my friend. I'll say one for you.
Especially in those fight scenes, sped-up motion will definitely be taken seriously, said no one after about 1960. Kind of a shame. Hell's Angels. Howard Hughes, the director and producer of this World War I epic, is another titan of old Hollywood not very many people know. He's best known, however, as the most famous germaphobe of all time. Arguably his magnum opus, Hell's Angels is probably the largest war movie ever filmed, and that is saying something. It's on the same level as Saving Private Ryan. Yeah. The cinematography in the air was something no one had ever seen before. From an acting standpoint, it's not that great, but that was the way for most of Hughes' films. What was more impressive was the construction of the film, not so much the acting in it. The acting would get better in Hughes' later films, but in this one, the characters are believable. And that's really all you need, because the action and dogfighting are just kick-ass.
Hell's Angels, directed by Howard Hughes, a motion picture for all time.
Hughes was Michael Bay before anyone realized how awful that type of director could be. Mainly because that director was, well, Michael Bay. The General. Ladies and gentlemen, Buster Keaton. The General is Buster Keaton at his best. It is about a Southern engineer whose train is stolen by Union spies during the Civil War. When he finds out, he gives chase. And I will not dare say any more. This is one of the best comedies of all time. Not only that, but one of the best silent films of all time. And Buster Keaton practically invented slapstick comedy. So if you haven't seen it, give it a watch. I can't really say much more without ruining the film. Yeah, I can't really say it much better than that title card. You all know this one. The Wizard of Oz. Yeah, most people know all about this one, so I won't spend too much time on it. The songs are perfect. The plot is perfect. The performances are wonderful. And the color and effects still hold up today. This film was so good, it made no one realize it was an allegory for the rise and fall of the Populist Party. Want to learn about that? Go watch the History Channel.
We hear he is the Wizard of Wiz, if ever a Wiz there was. If ever or ever a Wiz there was, the Wizard of Oz is one because of the wonderful things he does.
Frankenstein. This was the career-making performance of one Boris Karloff, who is still to this day the undisputed king of the monster movie. Why? Because he looked like this. Anyway, he might not be as intimidating nowadays as compared to, say, Jigsaw or Chucky, but Frankenstein's monster would kick both their asses in a fight. No questions asked. But on top of Karloff's performance, Colin Clive provides a batshit insane Victor Frankenstein.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. In the name of God. Now I know what it feels like to be God.
Still gives me the willies. And the atmosphere of the film is still plenty scary and mysterious, just like the book. The film is so good, it is better than the book. I bet if the monster could read, Mary Shelley would be dead. And you look me in the eye and tell me you would not shit your pants if you came face to face with this. Yeah. Go change your pants and join me in the next pick. Wardrobe change, and we're back from intermission. So let's continue on with the list with number 4. When you think of silent comedy, usually 2 names come to mind, and those names are Buster Keaton, and of course this man, Charles Chaplin. Which brings me to the 4th film on our list, Modern Times. Modern Times was one of the 2 films that made Chaplin famous, the other one being The Kid. The only difference between Keaton and Chaplin is that Chaplin was not afraid to make a statement with his comedy. More on that later, but anyway, in Modern Times, the tramp gets a job at a factory, as you can see here, in the heyday of the industrial age. Hijinks ensue, naturally, and the result is a scathing indictment of this crazy factory lifestyle of the working poor during the Depression. Did it work? Of course it did. Is it a great movie? Of course it is. Should you watch it? Of course you should. Yeah, okay. I'll tell you right now, this is the one I'm kind of cheating with. But really, can you blame me? Can you, honest to God, really blame me for liking this movie enough to cheat the rules of my own list? Tracy Lord is a rich chick who's very stuck up, who is getting remarried to a virtuous coal miner, once poor, who has now risen to the very top of the Philadelphia social scene.
I don't want to be worshipped. I want to be loved.
Meanwhile, a newspaper reporter named Macaulay Connor and his photographer Liz Emery are assigned to cover the wedding. Just one problem. Tracy won't let any reporters into her house. So how do they get in? With the help of this incredibly convenient Cary Grant ex machina, of course. I mean, the reappearance of Tracy's first husband, C.K. Dexter Haven.
C.K. Dexter Haven. Oh, C.K. Dexter Haven. C.K. Dexter Haven. C.K. Dexter Haven. Oh, C.K. Dexter Haven. What's up?
And as it turns out, good old CK may have an agenda of his own. The Philadelphia Story is considered by many to be one of the smartest comedies ever made. And under George Cukor's direction and the troupe of veteran actors bringing the story to life, it truly shines like no other comedy ever could. When America was right on the brink of war. Go watch this movie. That is all.
Selznick International Pictures presents
Gone with the Wind. Yeah, you all knew this one was probably going to be pretty high on the list, right? The Civil War love story epic, whatever you want to call it, there's really no proper name for how great it is the highest grossing film of all time for a reason. It's 3 hours of great acting, amazing sets, terrific direction, and just Just pure cinematic brilliance that could only come from the great David L. Selznick. Clark Gable and Vivien Leigh are legends because of this film. And what else can I say? Watch the movie. People call it the greatest film of all time. Sorry, Mr. Kane. I still love you. Now, I'm sure the question on your mind is...
You could parade right through the Yankee Army with a sick woman, a baby, and a simple-minded dog.
No, Clark, that's actually not what I had in mind. The question I was looking for was, what could possibly top Gone with the Wind for the greatest movie released before 1940? Well, if you want to know, join me in the next pick. And the best movie released in or before the year 1940 is...
Does this remind you of anything?
The Great Dictator. Remember how I said Charlie Chaplin was never afraid to make a statement in his comedies? Well, in the heat of the Battle of Britain, Charlie Chaplin decided to release his first talking picture. The Tramp portrays a Jewish barber returning from war to a country run by an anti-Semitic dictator who somehow copied Chaplin's mustache. Chaplin, of course, also portrays the dictator. One day, however, the barber is mistaken for this dictator because they look eerily similar. What happens next is one of the most inspiring things ever put to film. I cannot ruin it for you here. Well, not yet. But The Great Dictator was Hollywood making a difference, getting behind the men fighting hard for the free world. This was Chaplin's battle cry for his home country, and I guarantee you, if you listen to the speech he makes at the end of this film, you will want to kick some Nazi ass. And because of its message, is why it is #1 on this list. Anyway, that's a wrap for my first top 10. I will see you guys next week with a brand new video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you have any thoughts about the movies in this list that you liked or disliked, or any ones I left out, leave them in the comments below. And I will leave you with one of the greatest speeches ever caught on film. Hooray for Hollywood, and take it away, Charlie Chaplin.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful. But we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people, and so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate. Only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery. Fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man. Not one man, nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power. The power to create machines. The power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful. To make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world. A decent world. That will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason. A world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!